Hi friends, Tiffany here. Welcome to my quilting life. In today's video, we're going to make a mess. Let's go make a mess. Here we are at the mess making area. I grabbed 4 yards of a solid because I tend to use solids quite a bit, but that's okay. And then this giant tub of strings. When I say we're going to make a mess, yeah, we are, because it's all strings and we're making a string quilt. So we're going to start with our yardage. We're going to cut it up, get it ready, and then we're just going to start pulling from our basket of strings every time we use one, because like here I have a pile of the same strings. I'm going to take the rest of that pile because usually they're stacked together, and I'm going to toss it aside because I'm only going to use one of every string if possible. And there's, well, let's just say a giant tub filled with them. It's so big that I can't move it, and that Scott put it here for me so that, you know, because it's kind of heavy. I mean, I could tilt it, but could you imagine? This is just like a lot. So I'm going to go ahead, set this aside. We're going to cut out our yardage, and you can use, it's best to use a color that isn't in the strings. There is no solid blue in these strings. There's some solids in here, but they're not this color, and I'm not going to use solids. I'm only going to use prints. If I would have used a white, I have a lot of prints with white, you know, so it doesn't work out too well. If I had used black, there's a lot of strings in here that are black. So I chose a color that can contrast even with that right there. You know what I mean? I want it to contrast with all the strings I decide to put in here. So that's the thing. So if you want to use like a grunge, which this is what that grunge star was, as long as it's consistent throughout, then it should look good. So grab your string bin. I grabbed 4 yards. I don't know if I'm going to use 4 yards, but I grabbed 4 yards, and let's make a quilt. So here's my yardage. I'm going to open it up and cut a nice straight line off of here, and we're going to turn it, and I'm going to cut 8 3.5-inch strips, I think. We're going to see right now. So I'm going to start by making a straight line. Like I said, I have 4 yards here. Oh my goodness, just get right there, please. You can tell I'm struggling with lining things up right now, right off the bat. All right. I have my straight line started. Turn the whole thing around. I'm going to cut 3.5-inch strips. I'm going to cut 8 of them to start. Remember, this is a scrap quilt, so I don't always know the exact amount of everything right off the top. So we're going to cut 8 3.5-inch strips. And one more makes 8 to start. All right, I'm going to set that aside because we're going to use it again to cut more stuff because, yep, we have to have more. Always more. More, more, more. All right, so I'm going to cut these, stack them up, turn it around so my selvage is on this side, and I'm going to go ahead and line these up on a line. What we're going to do is not pay attention to that. We'll move that completely out of the way, just so that you can see what I'm doing here. So I'm going to line it up on a line, just like this, and I'm going to cut the selvage off because we don't need that. I'm going to do it on both of these piles. And we're going to use the markings on our ruler for this. So you can see that we have a 45 on the ruler. We also have a 45 right here on our cutting mat. So you can turn this right here on the cutting mat. I'm going to put a point right here at a line, just like this. And I am going to come over. We're going to try to keep this nice and straight. I'm going to make a straight line first right here. just like this at the edge. So I cut off my corner. And I'm going to go ahead and come over this way now to the side and make a cut. Just like this. Right there. So now I have a triangle. Now I'm going to come over this way at the point on the line that that point is on and make a cut and just stack that there. Now it's on this line right here at this point. Put the ruler on that line right there. Stack it up. Ruler on this point line now. There. And I'll get one more. I'm just going to put this on a line. Just like this. And I'll get one more out of it this way. So lining it up on that line and making the cut. And then these are just scrap. So I'm going to stack all that up. And I'm going to repeat that same process over and over until all of this is cut up. I'm going to go ahead and line it back up on a line. My point is at the first line where I want to cut. I'm just going to toss that one aside. And then the second point, find, cut it sideways. From the bottom side, cut it this way. From the top side, cut it this way. On the 45-degree line are all these cuts. One more this way and one more the other way. From this point, there should be plenty of space to get all these cuts. All right, here's my triangles. Nice big stack. I'm going to do the rest with all the rest of this. So I'm going to do that same thing. I'm going to stack 2 at a time. This one I don't need to do 4 because then it'll just get wonky on me. So we're going to do 2 at a time. I'm going to cut the selvage off first. It just helps me line it up better. And I have a nice clean point to work with. I'm going to put it on the 45 line. I'm going to make sure it's touching or crossing over. And this is nice and straight. So I'm going to start with my first cut. Not that. That goes over there. So here's my giant stack. Don't know how many that is. I got 4 pieces per cut off of 8. I stacked them in sets of 2. So I made 8 cuts and stacks of 2. There's that. I'm not doing the math. You guys can do that. Just know I cut 8 strips. I have no idea how big this quilt will be either. Now I'm going to set these aside because I need those. And then we are going to cut from the yardage again. Here's the fun part. We're going to cut a bunch of 1-inch strips. And when I mean a bunch, I mean a lot. So we're just going to turn this into 1-inch strips. A lot of them. A lot of 1-inch strips. Oh, I probably should re-straighten that because it seems like it's got wonky again. They tend to do that when you're cutting off the bolt. And see, it was slightly wonky. So I'm going to go ahead and cut 1-inch strips. I'm just going to cut a bunch of them. This is going to take a little bit. And then I'll tell you how many I cut when I come back because I'm going to skip showing all this to you. But I'm cutting 1-inch strips. All right, I'm going to have to cut more, obviously. But for now, I stopped at 20 1-inch strips. And then I had my 8 3.5-inch strips cut into these triangles. So there's that. So now it's time to start sewing with the strings. So let me get the string bin and we'll go over to the sewing machine. Okay, so here we are at the machine. Here are my triangles. I'm going to set them in this side right here. And we're going to start with 1. I'm going to build my strings on these top 2 sides. So I'm going to chain piece all one side and then chain piece the other and then chain piece the next. So what we're going to do is down here to the side, if you can see, there is a new clear bucket up here on the desk in the top corner. You can see I'm pointing at it. That's going to be the ones I've already used. That way I'm not throwing them on the floor. I'm just going to stick them in that bucket. And then I'm pulling from down there on the floor. Here, let's just look. Pulling from this bucket on the floor and then placing them after use in this bucket right here. So that way I only use one of each. And then it transfers from this bin to this bin. So I'm going to grab my first string. I'm going to place it on here. And when I go to flip this, I have my straight edge up here, but when I go to flip this, I want this to be about that because we're going to cut and straighten everything. So this extra is just going to go in the bin over there. So now I'm going to put this right sides together. It's nice to have a pair of scissors next to you. And then I'm going to go ahead and start sewing these. If I can keep my machine in one place, you know. Oh, and I got to change my stitch because I didn't even think about that from the beginning. All right, here we go. So I'm going to start sewing one all the way to the end. I'm going to grab another piece right here and then just grab another scrap. So again, I'm going to lay it here and go, oh, that's the right size. Line this up and go, okay, that's perfect. It doesn't need to be exact, but it needs to be close enough. And then I'll put the other piece in the bin. So it's a lot of back and forth cutting and so on and so forth, but we will eventually get this done. So I'm going to go ahead and just repeat the process of doing all these. It doesn't matter. My strings are anywhere from 3/4 of an inch to 2.5 inches ish. Grab another string. Line it up like this. Cut off the excess. So it takes a minute. This takes a minute to do. This isn't going to be a quick project. Coming up on the last few pieces, and I'm just still snipping and sewing. Okay, 3 left. And then I can press them all towards the string that I just added, and then what I will do is trim everything square. And what I mean by that is, you know, right now I'm just kind of giving it a general cut, but as soon as I'm done pressing, I will cut straight along the lines. So that way everything is equal and good. So I'm going to go ahead and finish this last one, and then we'll snip it all apart and go ahead and press everything. So I'm just going to go ahead and snip everything apart, stack it up, and then I will take it over and press towards the piece that I added, and then we'll cut everything straight using the ruler and rotary cutter to make it easier. You know, that way everything lines up nicely. All right, so I'm just going to snip all this apart and then get to pressing. Okay, once they are all pressed, they kind of look like this. They're just sticking out a little bit. You're just going to take your ruler and you're going to line it up right here. And you can see my 45-degree line on my ruler lines up with that seam that I just made. And I'm going to cut that straight. And then turn it this way and cut anything excess off of this side. So there that is, nice and straight. I'm going to go ahead and repeat that until all of these have been trimmed. And then we're going to start sewing onto the other side. So we're just back and forth like this until they are all trimmed up. Some of the tops I lined up pretty good, so it makes, you know, there's selvages on some of them and not, and so on and so forth. We're just going to make it nice and, well, not square. We're making it nice and triangle-y as we do this. So I'm just going to go ahead and cut all these up. I'm going to spare you me cutting like the 100% ton of them because I sewed every single one of them, the one side already of everything that I cut. So, all right, well, I'm going to get to this and then we'll meet you at the machine when I go to sew the next stage on here. All right, now that it's on one side, we're going to add it to the next side. So I'm just going to set one down out of the way, grab another piece, and this one I'm going to hang over a bit. That's all I'm going to do, like a lot, because when it's opened, turn it this way, once it's opened, it has that point that I can get to. So as long as I leave that extra fabric, I should be good. And if it's right there, just like that. And then cut this nice and straight. And go ahead and attach. Grab another one, do that same thing. Hang it over a bit. I can tell right now that it'll be straight right there. So I'm going to just pop it over like this. Let it be right there. Trim that off. And repeat. Just keep repeating. The littler the piece, the less you have to hang over. And I used to pre-cut. I mean, sometimes that works, pre-cutting the piece to size before attaching it and then stack them all up and then go. But I have so many strings now that that's just going to take too long. So I'm just doing it this way. Just let it hang over a bit. Start it. Cut it. And just keep going until my whole pile is complete. All right, so I'm going to keep doing this, and I'll come back when I'm ready to trim them. So I have quite a mess going on here. So the next step is to take your 1-inch strips. We so far cut 20. We're going to need to cut a whole heck of a lot more. But what I'm going to do is just line up all the selvages. I'm literally going to try to grab each piece and then line them all up and cut the selvage off. And what I'm going to do is sew each of these string pieces that I have made. I'm going to sew them all together into the longest strip we could possibly get, because we're going to need long strips for this next step. So I'm going to go ahead and just stack these up. Just going to grab my cutter, and this stack is ready. I'm just going to throw it aside. Then I'm just going to go ahead and stack some more up. It would have probably been easier if I didn't throw them around before this step, but at this point I have no other choice because my workspace is getting limited. Oops, that's not the right side. Oops, sorry for hitting the camera. You know, I'm blocking my own path here. All right, line that up. It's all nice and as straight as I'm gonna get it. I go ahead, cut all those off at once, and then set them aside. Do it until the rest of the stack is complete. It'd have been easier if I would have never moved anything, you know? But that's okay. We're gonna make it work and try not to waste too much. All right, there's a stack. Throw it out of the way because we're gonna sew them. That's the end there. Normally I'm a little more cleaned up about doing stuff like this, but this is gonna work, what we're doing right here. So if you wanna be a little bit more cleaned up, go ahead and do so. But I gave myself very little room to do any of this with this mess that I'm making. And oh boy, you know, I just want to make a quilt, a funky, funny, fun, exciting to look at quilt. And that's what we're doing with our strings. All right, last stack right there. All of it's cut off. So now I'm just going to hook them end to end to end to end until all 20 strips are hooked together. So here I am at the machine. I'm just going to pull away that bottom one. I have everything stacked. Pull away that bottom one and hook 2 together. Like this. And then sew it through. Then the next 2. Sew them through. And so on and so forth until all of them are together in one super long strip. Hoping that they stay in order and don't get all tangled because I did make quite the mess when I was cutting them. Trying to keep everything nicely stacked. It's really hard to do. All right, you get the picture. So I'm going to keep doing this, and then I'm going to press all the seams. Any which way, it doesn't matter. There's no right or wrong here. There's no left or right, left, up, down, because it's a solid. As long as they are flat. So the next step is going to be taking these. I know this is going to seem like it's going to take forever. I'm going to go like this. I'm going to place that ruler out of the way. And I am going to line the edge up. This is my really long pile, remember? I just made a really long string because we're going to use the seams and all. We don't want to miss anything because we're wasting fabric as we go anyway. So I'm going to go ahead and line this up. And I'm going to use my little ruler here to line up this edge along here. And I'm going to make a cut. Oh my goodness. Right there. So that's ready on that end. Then I'm going to come to this end and make a cut. And if I make it stick out further than it needs to, that is okay. I'm going to go ahead and place this on here, and this will be ready for me to sew. So I'm going to go take that over to sew it, and then I'm going to do the next one. So I'm going to go ahead and stick this one on this side because I already have a cut right here. And I'm just going to line that up. It doesn't have to be perfect. And I'm going to go ahead and place that one on there. And then I'm going to take it over to the sewing machine and sew it. I'm going to go ahead and go to the top of this one, and it's going on the side that has nothing on it yet. I'm going to line that end up, make the cut, right sides together, place it aside. This next one will go on the bottom, right here. And you can see it lands right at the edge of a seam. I'm still using that spot. Go right there, right sides together, set it aside. And I'm going to repeat this process through the whole entire, oops, that's going to go on the top, all 80 of my pieces, because I have 80 of these. So we're going to do all 80 of them just like this. And we are going to run out of our long thing of blue. I never said that that was going to be perfect. So I'm going to just set that aside. Lay this back out because it was tangled. and start with the bottom right here, just lining it up. It's, like I said, doesn't have to be perfect. Place that on there, set it aside so that I could sew it. This one will go on the top. Put it on there, set it aside so I can sew it. Again, here's another seam. The only reason why we added seams is because, look, this one's going to be longer than the next, and we would have way too much waste between the selvage ends. So I'm literally using a really long strip, pre-cutting everything, and then sewing it. So now we're on this side, and I'm not doing it exactly perfect. As long as they are all ready, this is going to take a while. Like I said, we're making quite the mess here with all these parts and pieces, but we will prevail. We will finish this quilt. So I'm going to go ahead now and take all these to the sewing machine, sew them, and then do more and sew them until everything is all sewn up. So at the machine, I'm literally just taking them the way that I have them. Just going to center this on here and start sewing. And not start sewing because I lost thread. Grab another one. And I'm going to make sure, because I'm moving around a lot and stuff, so I'm going to make sure that this is going in the correct direction, and it is. So I'm just going to put it right sides together on there, throw this end under here, and start stitching. Grab the next. Again, I'm just going to make sure one time, see this one got flipped around, so this one goes this way. Center it on here. Start sewing. And continue on until they are all complete. Just making sure that they're where they're supposed to be, the angle they're supposed to be at. And further on, you will see where we're getting to, the whole purpose of what we're doing here. So I'm going to go ahead and continue with all of this, and then I'm going to repeat those first two steps. So I'm going to sew all these on, press and trim them all. So now I'm going to do this 70 more times because I'm making 80 pieces. So I'm just going to press these towards the blue, or I would call it background color. And you can do a few at a time. I separated mine into piles of 10. So I'm going to press these back, trim them straight, everything nice and straight where it needs to be. And then we're going to, once this is pressed, add to this side, and then add another one of these. Add to this, that, another one of these. And I'll show you that when we get close. So now you can see, let me just move that and grab. I went around the first, added the blue, around a second time, added the blue, and around a third time. Now at this point, due to the fact that we don't measure our strings, every single one of these are a different size. So this one is slightly shorter than that one. And this one is slightly, well, it's about the same as the second one, and slightly shorter, slightly bigger. So we're going to take two. These ones seem about close. And I'm going to take two of them and place them together. There will be some overhang, and this will be funky in the middle. The whole goal is for this funkiness in the middle. So there would be one match. And this one, they're kind of close. So I don't mind if it gets chopped off a little bit. We want the funkiness in the middle. So I'm going to put these two together. just gonna slide these over here as pairs. Oh, and for the second, so the first one I cut 20 strips and the second one I cut 32 strips and was able to get all the centers. So I still have some left so that I could do whatever it is I want to do with it. I'm going to line these two up like this, and then those will get sewn, and then find some more. Those are about the same size, so I'll sew them together down the center. And these are going to make some oddball size blocks, but that's okay because now after they're hooked together, we're going to build around them again because this is purposely funky. So like, see, this one's kind of too big, so what I'll do is slide this one over, grab another. Those are closer in size, almost exact. We'll put those two together. Grab another one. This one and this one. Those are almost exact, so I'm going to put them together. And the next two, so this one's a short one like this one is. So I'm going to put these two together. And we're going to still build around them until we make 15-inch blocks. So I'm literally just going to pull from this pile. And again, we want funkiness. It's funky. The purpose of this is to be a little bit on the wonky side. We want that. That is our goal. Like, this one is super huge. This one's probably already close to the size it needs to be. And this one's super huge. So those two fit together. And it's still wonky. This one is not the same as that. Not that, but these two, look at that. Those are almost exact. Got funky going on in the middle, and that's what we want. These two, pretty much the same, so we'll put those together. It shouldn't be hard because you went 3 rounds either way. Everything should be kind of close, so those are off by a lot. Grab this one. Those two are closer, so those will go together. Just going to pair everything up. Not close, but this one, on the other hand, and this one are close. Because after we put these together and then trim them to a square, we'll keep adding around them. All right, here's another longer one. Let's see if this one's super long. Look at that, close, perfect. We're going to make a pretty big quilt here, but at least we're using up strings. That is the whole goal, and I still have yet to make a dent in my strings bin. And there we go. I matched all of them up. They're pretty darn close, but we will trim them, and then after we sew them, and then add more strings around them. So here are my sets. Let's go sew them. Here we go. So I'm just going to make sure that the two are funky aligned. I don't mind cutting this bigger section off, so I'm going to line it there and have the smaller section right here align. Everything's good. We're going to just stick this under the machine and sew. And all the blue should be lined up. My 1/4-inch seam. These are funky, funky blocks. They look like they're lined up, and I'm going to sew them. Everything's lined up. I should have 42 blocks here. Next two, all I'm doing is lining them up along the blue, making sure that everything's still funky in there. That first part does take a few days to do. This part and adding to it probably won't take as long as the first amount of sewing that I did. This is over a week's worth of messing around. All right, so I'm going to continue with this, and I will meet you back at the cutting table when we're ready to move on with the next step. Now we're at the next step. Now they right now look a little funky. That's the whole purpose of this, is funky. So here's my 15-inch ruler. You could do this however you want. So you can trim the two sides so that they're straight, so everything's equal, and then add equally around it. So add one here, add one here, add one here, add one here. Laying it on the ruler is going to help you decide how big of a piece you need on your edge. So this would be a 2.5 inch here, 2.5 inch there, 2.5, 2.5 there. I'm going to do 1, 2, whatever, you know what I mean? So that it's equal. What I'm going to do first is I'm just going to lay this on here. And remember, it's funky for a reason. I'm going to put it on this corner. I'm going to lay it right there. I'm going to lay it on this corner. I'm going to trim this up. Okay, and then turn it around and trim it. I'm not even lining up the center. I'm just making sure that I have right now at this point a nice square. And then what I'm going to do after I have what I need, I'm going to add to this side, add, 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 add until it is a nice 15-inch block, because we're going to make a big quilt here. All right, so I'm just going to set that aside, grab the next one, trim it up, and just keep going until all of these are trimmed. And like I said, I could use the line right here, and then just slide it to where it's equal right there. Turn it. Trim it again. It's right there and right there. It looks good. Hold it steady. It's kind of hard for me to hold this big ruler all nice and steady, but that's okay because we're working with strings and it's not going to matter. All right, next. So I'm going to do this with all of my blocks. I'm going to get them trimmed. Some of them aren't even square. Some of them are at this point a rectangle. And guess what? That's okay because we're going to make them into squares. So you can see this one's completely rectangular at the moment. So I'm just going to trim. Turn it around and trim it, and we'll make these into squares. Here, right there, looks good, nice and straight. Get that off of there. You know, I've been doing lots of cutting. I'll have to change my blade when I'm all done. All right, so I'm going to continue on with this. I'm going to spare you the rest, get them trimmed, and then start adding to them. All right, so now that they're like this, I'm going to go ahead, set them aside, grab one, grab a string, find a place to start. Place the string here, cut it to size, right sides together, and sew it on. This one will go in my used string so that I could try to remember that I've already used it. Once that's sewn, grab another one. It really doesn't matter what side I start on. I'm just going to grab a string, place it there, cut it to size, put it on, and sew it. Now, once they're like this, I'm going to go ahead and go press that back. I'm going to trim this side because I made it hang over a tiny bit. And where did I add this one? I'm going to cut off that little excess that I, had a tiny bit. And I'm going to press them and then add some more. So these are added. So I'm going to choose another side, which will be this side. just going to go ahead and grab a string, open it up, cut it to size. Like I said, look, it's off. It's not going to be, where'd my, I'm always losing things, and we have lost a ruler. So I'm going to go ahead, add it here, cut to size without, making too much of a mess. Add it on here. All right, so this will go in my used pile. Then I'm going to go ahead and add to, oops, this one's sticking out just a smidgen, just those tiny little bit. I'm going to add to this side. So I'm going to literally grab me a piece, cut it to size. This will go in my used pile. Add it on there. After they are added, I'm going to go ahead and press them back and then add 2 more sides. All right, so we'll start with this one. So I did add this and then this. So now I want to add this and that. So I'm going to go ahead and turn it this way. Find a string. Oop, that's already in there. So that I don't even know why is in my pile. All right, let's find a string. Almost the right size. Would this be the same as that one? No, that one's close, but no cookie. All right, let's find one that's almost, but no cookie. This is the part, where some of them are going to be shorter, some of them are going to be longer. I'm going to cut that to size, toss that small piece aside, sew this on, grab my block. So I added this, then that. So now I'm going to add this, then this. So I'm literally going to find one for right here. Is that one? Oh, look at that. That was perfect for this one. So I'm going to go ahead and add it on here. Same procedure. I'm going to press it back on both of these. All right, so I'm going to set this one aside real quick. This one is this side now, so I need to add this. So I can add whatever I want, as long as it's long enough. So I got to dig through my bin here and find something that's long enough. You can see it's off shape. It's not even the right size at this point, but we are going to make it work. All right, so this will be my used pile. And we're going to go ahead now, and I added that one, so now I'm going to add this one. Again, I need pieces that are long enough, almost, definitely long enough. Cut this end off. I'm only saving pieces that are 5 inches or bigger so I can make piano keyboarders on whatever I want. So now I'm just going to go ahead and press these back, and we'll see how far we've come size-wise. Here are my 2 blocks. I'm going to set one aside, and then we're going to go ahead and grab the ruler. That's 15 inches, and we're going to look. So I need for it to be 15 inches. It is this way. It is not this way. So I need 1.5 inches to this bottom side right here. So I'm going to go ahead, turn it, straighten this end right there, and I'm going to grab something that's about 1.5 inches for down here on this bottom. Obviously, I need scraps that are longer. Let's see, is this long enough? That's not quite 1.5 inches. Is this 1.5 inches? It's almost. This will work. So I'll go ahead and place this on here. And then that will be the next one. So I'm going to press this one, and then we'll work on that one and then check this one. All right, so let's see where this one is at. So it needs about 1.5 inches here and 2 inches here. So the last side I added to, we're going to go ahead and add to this one now. This side right here. Just going to grab a piece. Well, since I'm using it in a different size, I'm going to go ahead and just grab this. Cut that to size. All right, I'm going to press and then add to another side. So I'm going to go ahead now and straighten this real quick. And add to this side right here. Okay. That just goes back in the string pile. Add to this, and this should give us a 15-inch block here for sure. Okay, that's my used pile. Sew this on here. Okay, so now I'm just going to go ahead and press that. And again, see, it's wonky. It's funky. Nothing is equal. Like, see how there's two pieces coming on this side? I could have grew on the opposite side. I don't care. The point is for us to be using our strings and make this funky centerpiece. All right, so now the point right here is to take my ruler that's 15 inches. I'm going to lay it on here, and I'm going to trim all the way around this whole entire thing, making it 15 inches. All right, so I trim the one side. I have to turn it around because I don't have much workspace thanks to my tub of scraps. So I'm just going to line it back up. And there I have my 15-inch block. So I'm going to set this aside. Grab this one. This one doesn't really have much to cut off of it, I don't think. We're probably right at, oh, we're so close. What I'm going to do is trim that, because this side needs to be added to a little bit, and so does this side. So I'm going to go ahead and trim it about right here, and then re-add to it. So these can just go in my strings again, because that's a straight string, and so is that. So I'm going to go ahead and add to the two sides that I just cut off. I needed it bigger. So we're going to go find one that's quite large. Perfect. And then I didn't really measure, but whatever's left over can go towards more stringy stuff. And then one of these, let me cut this on and sew it on real quick. Get this on here. Right sides together and sew it. So I've added this. I'm going to go ahead now and add to this side because that's the other side that I cut off. Find an end here. And there's a selvage on that, so I'm going to bypass that. Put that there. This goes in my used. And then we're going to just lay this here and cut the selvage off real quick. Move the big ruler and sew this on here. Here we have this. Let me move all this out of the way. So now should be 15 inches. I'm going to center it, not center it, but make sure it's on this side most of the way. It's okay to cut off this amount of scrap right here. So this was the perfect size to add. I'm going to go ahead, turn it around. And remember, this doesn't have to be center. This could be as funky and wonky as you want. That is the whole point of this Funky Funk quilt. All right, so there's another 15-inch block. I'm going to go ahead and stick it aside. All right, so this is how I'm going to do this. I'm just going to keep going until look at that. See, that's perfect size. I'm going to start with this one, make my way, whatever way I want to, because that's the whole purpose of this. So I'm literally just going to do one block at a time now. I'm just going to keep adding until each block is 15, and I only have 42 blocks to make. So it shouldn't take forever, but I mean, the first part did take me a week. All right, so remember, we're trying to get the whole units to 15 inches. So I'm coming up on my last one. So I sew on to one side, and then I'm going to bring that next one on this side, and then I'm going to put one on this side, that side, so on and so forth until it becomes 15 inches. You definitely do not need to make a block that's, 15 inches if you don't want to. This is going to be a nice size quilt though. It'll be probably full queen. because I don't know exactly offhand because I didn't do the mathematics for that. So right now I'm just trying to find pieces that fit. Look at that one, perfect. And then I just, oops, I trim them to about size and sew them on. All right, so I'm going to turn it. Now I'm going to go on this side. All right, now I'm going to go on this side right here. I'm just doing this all the way around until it looks close, then I'll start measuring. Oops, I've already used it. It's got to go in the already used it bin. Now I'm going to go on this side again. So like, here's a 15-inch ruler. I'm going to lay it on here. I'm going to go, well, I need about 2 more inches because I have a seam allowance that I got to insert in here. So I need something that's about 2 inches or more to finish this piece off. Let's see, is that the size? Oh, look at that. I'm just going to put this on here, and then this height will be done, and then I have to just worry about that other side. All right, so I'm going to trim this now. Now I need to worry about the height on this side. So I need about, I don't know, 2 more inches, and then this block will be done. Not big enough. Come on, gotta find one more piece. Just one more piece, and then I'll be done, and we can start trimming the blocks. Is this good enough? Oh, perfect. Okay, so the last to go on, just going to move all that out of my way because I'm going to need this area to trim blocks. Once I have added my last one to every block, I press the whole entire block super flat before I trim it. So I'm going to go ahead and press this. Once it's super flat, I'm going to take my 15-inch ruler. I'm going to lay it on here. I kind of try to follow around the smallest of the edges, but lining it up all at the same time, making sure I'm getting it as straight as I can. And then obviously I have knocked myself off because that happens when I'm trying to cut all the way around. So I'm just going to line that top back up, cut this bottom. Okay, now here's my 15-inch square piece. You can see I built, it doesn't matter how big on each side. This is what's going to matter when we make this. These are going to be in different heights and different situations. Trust me, it'll look cool. So we're just going to go ahead and trim all these now. So I have a while to go on these. So what I'm going to do is meet you when we go to lay these out on the floor. Obviously, this is the living room floor. Let's put this together, or lay it out at least. I brought some clips so that I can clip the rows together. And here we go. So I'm going to take one that's going to go one direction, and the next one is going to come an opposite direction. So we're going to go way up there to the top. And I'm going to repeat. This one's going to go the opposite direction of the previous one now. And repeat, opposite direction. Opposite direction. And more space. And this one that way. There we go. Now the next row is going to go opposite. So one way, then the other. All the way down. And the cat might come and visit because he is getting up. He's like, what are you doing? One goes this way. And I'm not caring where anything is landing at this point. It is scrappy, so it really doesn't matter. All right, next row, again, twisting it again. Now you don't have to do this layout exactly, but this is my vision. So obviously this is the layout that I have chosen. Because of my wonderful visions of scrap quilts in my head. One more. Then the next row. And I have decided to sit on my butt now and just scoot. And I'm going to get that next row started. As I go. I know this isn't the best view, right? You just get my back. We should have 42 blocks. And I am covered in thread, but that's the best part about making a quilt, is you get covered in thread. And I probably need to go higher with all of this because I'm going to run out of room. Here we go. Let's adjust. Must go higher. It's going to be a nice queen size or thereabouts. It's probably full though, unless I add borders. And you can add borders. You can do whatever you want. You can make less blocks, like I said in the beginning. You can make your blocks smaller. This is just using up the scraps with that middle section idea. All right, moving on. I'm building 2 rows at the same time now. Remember, they are in opposite directions, so it makes it easier to lay them out. Oops, that one goes this way. And that way. I know you're staring at my back. Am I too shy? How am I too shy? I guess I wasn't counting correctly. Well, it's going to be smaller than I thought because I'm not building 2 more blocks. But you can see what's happening there. All right, I pulled 4 out. I mean 36. 36 blocks. I'm going to leave it at that. Those remainder 4, I made 40, not 42. That was my fault. I thought I was making 42, but we're just going to leave it at 40. I'm going to stack everything up, and we're going to put the clips on them and take them and sew them. It'll be smaller than I thought, but perfect size for lap or, honestly, full size. If you want to make all 42 blocks, go ahead and do that, but I could have swore that's what I was making. I counted them even. I guess my counting just isn't correct. Unless I dropped 2 or left 2 somewhere. But I don't care at this point. We're making a scrap quilt. What does it matter? Now to sew the rows. So here are my rows. And then I had my 4 left because I apparently didn't make 2 more and I just looked. There is 2 missing. And I could have swore I counted correctly when I first started, but that's okay. The 4 of these can get put together and make a wall hanging or go on the back, which I'm pretty sure are going to go on the back. So I'm going to just set these aside. I'm going to go ahead now and piece the rows. So I'm going to just start with the bottom row. I'm going to go ahead, just take that piece off. I'm going to hook it to that front one because I know that's the first piece in that row. And I'm just going to lay them right sides together. They should be exactly 15 inches each. And sew. Or not. So when the camera's on, I do not have thread. Happens every time. All right, let's try that again. Go ahead, place the next piece on. And sew just like you would sew your rows together for anything else. And when I go to the iron, I'm probably going to press this whole row to the left and then the next one to the right and so on and so forth. All right, so all I'm going to do is press this, and then I'm just going to set it aside. I have my marker on here telling me what row it is anyway, so I can't get them out of order. That row is done. I'm just going to place it up and out of the way. I'm going to start with the next one. I'm going to again put the letter or my number, whatever you have, on my first piece, and grab the second, place it on there, and sew. And again, I'm going to press this one in the opposite direction of which I pressed my first row. So this row will go this direction right here, because the other one went that way. So this one's going to go to the right. I'm just going to fold, add, sew. Nice big blocks. Helps it get done quicker, it feels like, when you're sewing your rows together. Making the blocks, on the other hand, did take some time, like a couple weeks actually, of me doing this, little by little. Didn't take continuously a couple weeks, but lots of hours, because I only had so much time here and there to do this. Add a bobbin. All right, so now I just need to press it, and then I'm going to move on, and then I'll come back when I sew the rows together. I'm at the point where the rows need to be sewn together, so I numbered, mine are not numbered, they're A, B, C, A through F or whatever. So I'm going to put A and B together. So I'm literally going to grab A, and then I'm going to grab B, and I'm going to stick it underneath like this, put them right sides together, and I'm going to sew down this side, and when I get to that top where the clip is, I will pull that letter off of there, and because I won't need it anymore, and then I'll hook C to D and E to F. All right, so I'm just going to plop this over to my lap and sit and sew this. I'll put the bulk of it on my lap. Everything is in opposite directions, so every row should nest together beautifully. I'm just kind of lining it up and sewing it instead of pinning it together. Holding my seam junctions. I'm going to stop in the seam. Smooth everything out till the next seam. Everything should be opposite still. All right, stop there, adjust to the next one. All the blocks are the same exact size, so nothing should get out of whack. All right, adjust. And then I just hold those next seams each time I come close to them. I just have to watch it a little bit because some of the edges, the seam, the string is shorter. So sometimes the presser foot gets caught on them if it's too short to catch it. And then I'm at my end, so I'm going to remove my B clip. I'm going to go ahead and press this any which way, up, down. It doesn't matter. You can press the seams open. I'm not doing that with this quilt, but I'm going to go ahead and press it. I set A and B aside, so now we're going to hook C, and then D goes underneath it. And again, I'll pull the clip off when I get to it. For now, I'm just going to put them right sides together, line up my end. Bring all this up onto my lap so that it's not hanging on the floor. Line it up and sew. I'm going to grab my first seam that's going to nest together. They are in opposite directions. Stop at that seam, go to the next. Stop at that seam, go to the next. And so on and so forth. Well, I guess this seam doesn't really matter because there's two seams like on top of each other right there. Happens when you use strings. And I'm going to remove my D clip because it's not needed anymore. Match the end up and continue the sewing. All right, so I'm going to take it and I'm just going to press whatever which way. Now for the last two, for me, it's E on the top. And then F will go on the bottom. All right, I'm gonna line it up mostly. Place it onto my lap. Cover myself with 5 bazillion threads because that is what we do here in our sewing rooms. And start sewing. Nesting all the seams as I go. remove the clip, and continue to the end. All right, I'm going to go ahead and press it which way, and then we'll hook these sets together. All right, now for A, B, C, and D. So let's make sure which ones are A and B. That would be this. And then C and D will come in underneath right here. And then we're going to do that same procedure. Sew them together, and then we're going to sew on that last one. And at this point, I am probably going to go ahead now and clip it because it's a little on the bigger side. So I'm just going to grab my clips and clip it. That way it's more flatter at this stage. Right now I'm just connecting at the seams with my clips and then the ends. I'm going to remove my clip and grab the smaller clip, put that on at the end, and I'm going to go ahead now and stitch down this side. Coming up on the end. And I'm going to go ahead and press. Like I said, it doesn't matter which way at this point. So lastly, I'm going to go ahead. A is at the top. So I'm going to go ahead and lay all of these down. I'm going to go ahead and make sure we have my E at the top. We're going to lay these next to each other, making sure we're good. Then right sides together. And I'm going to start by clipping again. So I'll clip right here at the end. I'll find that first seam, clip that together. Makes it just a little bit easier at this point because I do have a lot going on with this quilt. And it's a lot of seams. It's very heavy. Well, it's not very heavy. It's got some weight to it being lots of strings. But at least I got some string bin usage. They're so close to each other, it's hard to know which one is which. Maybe that one's for this seam. That one? No, is that way? I don't know. Oh, yep, we'll release that because that one goes to the end. All right, I'm going to go ahead and put my final clip down here. I'm going to remove my E clip and bring this up and sew it. All right, I'm going to go ahead and press it, and then we are probably going to add a border of this blue because we still have some. So because I had given you guys 4 yards to work with, I still have lots of this. So I'm going to go ahead and cut 9 2.5-inch strips off of here. And then what I'm going to do, because the quilt's at 86 by 86 at this point. So I'm going to cut 9 strips that are 2.5, but I'm going to go ahead and at least attach this one and show you what the whole thing looks like. So I'm going to go ahead and press this and we'll go lay it out. So here is the top. It's 91 by 91 at this point, so it will fit on a full-size bed with sides hanging over nicely. If I want it to fit on a queen, I will do the piano key all the way around, which will add that extra 10.5 inches all the way around, because I would do a 5-inch piano key border around the whole entire thing. But isn't this Funky Funk String Quilt super awesome? I love it. So you can see it creates this weird, interesting design, but with strings. So let's take a closer look at some of the pieces and parts. So here it is. We're just going to walk along it and look at it. Like I said, it's 91 inches now. Thank you for watching me make this Funky Funk quilt. It's super fun, and it got rid of some of my strings, but I still have humongous baskets full. Anyways, see you next time in the next video. Hope you enjoyed. Bye.